A Kenyan court has found 2 men guilty for their roles in the deadly 2013 terrorist attack inside Nairobi's Westgate Mall. The men were convicted Wednesday of conspiring with and aiding the attackers from the Somali militant group Al-Shabaab. The court acquitted the third suspect of all charges. On Friday, the court was unable to deliver sentencing in the scheduled time. Joining us now for an update on the matter is the Star Court reporter Annette Wambulwa. Annette, good evening and thank you so much for your time tonight. Certainly, there's been a lot of delays in this particular case, and really, I mean, these delays, at some point, the case is postponed by a few hours, and then a few hours, and then to another day. Really, what have these delays, what have they done to this particular matter and its credibility?
Thank you so much. It's true that the case has taken long. The trial started in the year 2014. And since 2014 to date, a total of 45 witnesses had testified in the matter. And the magistrate in the case had told the court that the file was too huge and he needed time to tie a few ends. And last week, he gave a date. And on that date, he came and said it's not ready. He said, come back the next day in the morning, he said, come back in the afternoon. So, of course, it was a bit, people were a bit skeptical about why the case was taking long. But in the end, he read the judgment that he convicted 2 of them and set 1 free. Yeah.
And what are some of the reasons that he gave for setting the 1 free?
So, Liban Omar was the one who was set free. And Liban Omar is a refugee. He is said to be one of the brothers of the attackers who was killed at the Westgate attack, who carried out the attack, one of the attackers who died. So the court said, because the prosecution had told the court that the communication he had with one of the other attackers would prove that he was part of the conspiracy to attack Westgate. But the magistrate ruled that just because he talked with the attackers 2 times does not mean that he had a hand in it. Maybe his brother took his phone and used it to communicate with the other people. Yeah.
And when you look at Muhammad Ahmed Abdi as well as Adan Hussein Hassan, how are they then linked to this? What are some of the reasons that he's using to link them to this particular matter? And what are some of the things that the witnesses have said about them?
So the thing is, the 2 of them who are convicted, one of the things was the phone calls. One of them had over 62 phone calls with one of the attackers. And the court ruled that the number of times they talked and communicated with the attackers proved that they had a conspiracy and they had a link and they knew of the attack. Interesting to note is that when they were defending themselves, they told the court that they were friends with the attackers, but they never had an idea that they were going to attack Westgate at that particular time. But the court dismissed their defense and said their communication was not, it definitely showed that they had a hand in the attack and they conspired. So they were convicted on the offense of conspiring to attack.
And some people have said that these are, people that are at the bottom of the food chain when it comes to the carrying out of this particular attack, and the people that are the actual masterminds are still out there at large. Do you get that that is the same sentiment that is being shared by some of the Kenyans, when you attend this court case and even when you engage with them?
You are right. You are very right, because from the people, that is what it said, because like Adan, he was arrested with videos of Al-Shabaab, people saying, chanting, and those videos are the ones that now link the police and tried to link him to the slain attackers of the Westgate, the 5 or 4 men who were killed in the Westgate attack. So basically what people are saying out here is maybe the 2 of them are just, but they're not really the main people, but they had to be, they had to take the fall, if I say so.
And
Yeah.
what are police saying about this? Are they still trying to find the actual attackers themselves, or have they certainly given up?
As a court reporter, I wouldn't know, because once prosecution brings a case to court, that means they have done all their proper investigations, and they are satisfied that these are the people that committed the act. So once the case is going on, the trial is going on, of course there are open avenues in case they arrest anyone else. But as of now, we would not be wrong to think that these are the people that they think committed the offense, and prosecution said they were happy with the ruling of the court.
And as someone who's been in court, watching these proceedings very closely, are the family members still attending, and what are these delays doing to them?
Interestingly, most of the victims stopped attending. The survivors, they never come to court, because most of the survivors would wish to forget about it, because it was a very traumatic experience. And even 7 years down the line, we commemorated just recently on 21st September, 7 years since the attack, and it is still fresh in their minds. So even the ruling came weeks after we commemorated that the Westgate attack. Of course, it is just the way it has taken long. Of course, to them, their families of the victims who unfortunately died during the attack. So, of course, I would say they were not very much in court, but the families of the accused and the suspect were in court until the last day. So most of the families that were in court were of the accused, not of the victims.
And how did they react to the ruling?
Of course, they were very devastated, but the family of Liban Omar, the refugee, they were excited. The lawyers had asked the court to release him to the Kenya, National Human, the UN HCR, so that he can be rehabilitated. Unfortunately, a day after he was released, he was abducted by unknown gunmen, and up to now, we don't know where he is.
So it's still, even at this point, have officials not even been able to link that maybe this could be some of the, those that may have carried out, or someone that doesn't want him to speak? So they have not been able to piece together on what happened?
Yeah, as of now, we don't know, because there are so many speculations. The human rights organizations are pointing fingers at the police. The family are pointing fingers at the police, because they would say maybe they want to kill him because the court did not convict him. And there are other sides who say maybe the gunmen or the militia group took him, just as you're saying, for him not to spill the beans. But as of now, the authorities have not commented on the issue yet and said they are looking for him or anything. So the family is still just waiting.
And as a final question from me tonight, let's look at, and I know you alluded to this earlier, to say this incident is still fresh in the minds of those who were involved in that day. Let's look at that Westgate, mall. When people are walking around 7 years on, do they walk around looking over their shoulders, or has there been somewhat of, a relaxation around what, the security that is now provided there, or are people still really worried about their safety?
Yeah, there are two sets of people. There are people who, especially the survivors, they wouldn't want to go back to that mall, because it gives them fresh memories. Because even when they do the commemorations, they go back, it's still very fresh in their mind, even though the mall was rebuilt and there are new malls and there are new shops and everything. But there are other survivors who say going back is showing the attackers that they did not win the fight. So being courageous and going back is a win for them, and not. So there are two sets of survivors. There are some who think going back is showing the attackers that they did not win, and there are some who are just very afraid and had even to leave their jobs, even though their jobs were reopened, and were taken to other branches because they felt, I think, the stigma So it was a very traumatic experience for some of them. Yeah.
And what is President Uhuru Kenyatta saying about all of this?
The president has not spoken of yet about the ruling. We are waiting for the sentencing, maybe then, because it was a conviction. So the survivors asked the court, the victims, the families of the victims and the survivors, they asked the court for time to write a pre-sentencing report, which basically means that they will tell the court how that attack affected them. And that pre-sentencing report will put input into the final sentencing that the court will give. And also, the suspects have also been given time also to write a pre-sentencing report of just telling the court not to give them a harsh sentence. But of course, the victims would want the court to give them a harsh sentence. So the court will be left to do a balance of how to sentence the two.
And do we know when this matter will be back again in court?
So this matter will be back in court on 22nd of October.
All right.
When,
you. Oh,
yeah,
yes,
so,
you can
yeah.
continue. Continue, Annette, you were saying?
Sorry. Yes, I was just saying the matter is coming back on 22nd of October, but it's not coming back for sentencing, but basically for the reports to be tabled in court so that the court can go back and look at them and now come back and give us a date when they will be sentenced.
It certainly does look like, Annette, you're going to be sitting on those court benches in that particular matter for quite some time. Thank you so much for your time tonight. We certainly do appreciate it. That is Annette Wambulwa, who is the Star Court reporter who has been tracking the Westgate Mall attack case in Kenya for years now. And she has really been watching the story very closely. And if you follow some of the reports that she has been putting out, it really takes you straight into the picture of what exactly is going on in that courtroom. And we hope to touch base again with her when certainly, the sentencing finally happens. Thank you so much for your time tonight.